do you feel like you are gaining deep insight and clarity into a part of yourself that you were unable to see before? Like a flaw or a wound or a misperception has been revealed to you, and it's about you. So this is another Kundalini Chrism yoga update, your mother tongue. And if you don't know, we go from the root chakra to the crown chakra, from solstice to solstice, root to crown. So we are approaching the December solstice, which means we're approaching the crown chakra, which is the fulfillment of a sequence. It's the philosopher's stone. It's the resolution of something. But right now we're here at the throat chakra and the Ajna chakra, right? Third eye and throat chakra. And what might be happening in your life? So I've done a video before where I discussed that the throat's anatomy looks the same as the womb's anatomy, and they are both creation points. So the throat is where life and reality is spoken into being. So have you ever noticed, this has been happening in my life since I've moved into this area, is I'm having conversations with friends or with myself. And in the conversation, as I'm speaking freely about where I'm at, sharing openly, in the sharing, I'm having the realization. So have you ever had that where you're talking to a friend that, gives you space to share, just you don't know fully where you're at until you start talking about it, right? When you've given the space to speak. And as you're speaking, you have the realization. You're like, oh my God, I've just realized something about myself while I'm talking to you. That realization, that's why I say the third eye comes with the throat. It often happens while we're speaking, we're having the realization, right? And the realization is showing us a shadow aspect of ourselves that we were blind to before. So every cycle of Kundalini Chrism, right, root to crown, every 6-month cycle, there's a larger one as well, right? So there's like a fractal going on here. But every 6-month cycle, something is coming from the root of us, the base, something comes out of the ignorance of us, the pure matter, the prima materia, right? And it works its way up the system through alchemical processes in the psyche and the spirit, until we get to this point and we become aware of it. So if we're in a conscious relationship with ourselves and our continuous journey and evolution, right, and we don't push our self-awareness away, we don't push away the uncomfortable thing, the flaw, the wound that's being revealed, we don't push that away, we're comfortable with looking at it, right? You get more comfortable with it the more you journey with your shadow and the alchemical cycle, right? It's actually quite fun. I love it when shadow comes up. I'm like, you sneaky little thing, you were down there. Oh, interesting, I didn't see this before. This is what's been working its way up for me to accept and rewire. So the thing that's coming through for you right now, this is what it's connected to. I did a video in June about the myth wheel, right? So there's a hero or heroine's journey in this cycle as well. And something kicked off for you in March. You stepped into an adventure of moving towards something you wanted for yourself. One word, right? To distill it down, I wanted connection. In my last year's cycle, I wanted peace. And as you've journeyed, you've had various life, the play of life, the mother. It's a grand show, and she brings all kinds of obstacles and encounters and relationships and things into our path, nature does, to reveal to us what is the wound or the internal flaw getting in the way of achieving the goal, all right? So last year, I think I explained this in my video last time, I wanted peace, and the wound that was coming in the way was anger. This year, I want connection, and the wound that's coming in the way is judgment. Right? I won't go into full detail, but layers of judgment that I didn't even know were there. But they've been revealed to me now because the alchemical process has... Alchemy is about separating the prima materia, purifying it and separating it, and then bringing it back together into a new form. So the prima materia is the prime material. It goes through a process of a psychological internal process, and it gets reconstituted into a higher form. And this cycle is continuous in alchemy, and it's refining what we call the philosopher's stone, right? So we are now in coagulation. You might feel like you're coagulating, right? Which is when spirit, consciousness, and matter are coming together, because alchemy is about the merging of spirit and matter, the two feminine and masculine principles in the self, merging of spirit and matter continuously. So it's separating the elements and bringing them back together so that these aspects, masculine and feminine in ourselves, can find a harmonious balance and come into consciousness. So we are often unconscious to parts of ourselves. We operate in life unconsciously based on wounds and childhood psychological dysfunctions, right? All of us have this. And each cycle, one of these things comes up, and we can go, oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, I'm conscious of something that was trapped in matter. Something was just in the inertia, and I had no idea. I was just operating in life out of a wound. But now the wound has come up and gone, hey, do you know you've been operating from this unseen thing? If you choose to see me and be brave, because a lot of people don't want to look at the flaw in the wound, but look at the wound and the flaw. This is the time. The coagulation is like the admittance, the sitting with. It becomes quite inward at this time, right? Because coagulation leads to fermentation, right? So these two next points in alchemy are kind of happening simultaneously. And the fermentation is like we need things to decay in order for the phoenix or the new thing to be born. In order for the flower to open, we need the old thing to die and decay. So it's like how in a cocoon, the butterfly is releasing enzymes that break down the tissues of the caterpillar into mush, into nothing. And from that nothing, it receives the new information to become a butterfly. So there's this coagulation and fermentation happening, which comes with the realization of something in the self. The wound, the flaw, perhaps what we haven't been stepping into, perhaps where we haven't been announcing our needs. Where have we not been speaking? And as we speak, we realize something about ourselves, or we encounter a situation in life where we say what we need, where we truly say what we feel, and that situation, the reality of it will move because we spoke, right? As we speak our truth, as we speak the need from below, right? Because this thing that's hidden in the lower realms that comes all the way up in this alchemical process into the realization, it's an exiled part of the self. It's a part of the inner child that's been exiled, right? And it operates out of a wounded place because it wasn't given room in the throat to exist. So a lot of us, we learn to go along with things, to not announce our needs, to be quiet about certain things, to not say our opinions, to not be courageous in certain ways. There's so many things we get conditioned to do to survive, to maintain connection in our family unit that might have been dysfunctional, right? So one of those wounds has come up, and we are in the fermentation of it. So it gets quite inward, contemplative, still. It's quite yin. I felt quite yin. And I've also had a lot of congestion and mucus in my body, right? I don't often have a sore body, but my body's been achy. You might be achy in some way physically, because what is happening right now is that spirit and matter are trying to coagulate. They are coagulating into something higher. And the coagulation is felt physically, because matter is merging with spirit in a higher way. So it's challenging matter to make more space, right? And it makes more space, matter, for consciousness when we are brave enough to confront the thing that's come up for us, And I know it can be scary. A lot of people don't want to look at the wound or the flaw. They don't want to admit a flaw. But actually, the alchemical process gets really enjoyable after a while. You'll know this if you're familiar with shadow work. I love it when a shadow presents itself. I'm like, you sneaky bastard. I didn't know you were there. Thank you for coming up. Now, let's sit with this. I want this to coagulate nicely. I'm not afraid of seeing the wound anymore. I actually quite relish it. So I just want to say, if you're new to it or if it's uncomfortable, go in, relish it. It's delicious. Because on the other side of the coagulation and the fermentation and sitting in the contemplative inward feeling of it, right? Seeing it, it might connect to things in your life. You might have memories. You might have to do some inner work, some shadow work, reconnect to that exiled part of the self, bring it in, and redefine. The redefinition of self is happening. That's what happens after fermentation. The phoenix rises, and that's when we come into crown at solstice. Yeah, so I'm interested to know if you're feeling this, and in what way. And yeah, just to be brave in witnessing and having the insight of self. And another thing that might be happening is like insight of self, not just with the wound or flaw, but like what your actual gifting is. Lots of insight of self comes in. There's flaws and wounds, and there's also, oh, I'm totally built for this. Wow, I didn't realize I thought my life, I was destined for this kind of thing. But actually, it appears that I've been totally and completely built and structured to do this thing that comes so naturally to me. A lot of the time, the gift, each of our gifts, we often don't know what our gifting is because it's so obvious. I used to think that the gifting I had, I didn't think it was a gift because it was so common sense. I thought that it was built into everyone. I thought it was just nature. I thought everyone perceived and could do what I could do, right? Because it was so natural to me, you don't know that it's a gift. So you might also be coming into an insight over exactly what it is that you are and how beautifully you have been built and how easy and commonsensical and natural your gifting is, and like how it's been with you since you were like a kid. The whole time your gift is there, and you might be coming into a deeper layer of like, oh yeah, this is what I'm about. This is actually what I am about. There's a bit of there's some fluff over here, and there's a bit of this, and there's a bit of this, and it's getting to, I've been slightly skewed in different directions, and it's not actually, cut all that off. Prune, because this is what I'm about. I am this. Very Aries, like I'm this. This is what I do. This is what comes naturally, and this is what I love. So, yeah, it could be simultaneous things happening here around flaws and wounds, and also a great re-understanding of like what you're built for and what you love doing. Yeah. So I think that's the end of my message. I'd love to hear if you're feeling any of this, and sending love for your coagulation and fermentation. Okay, bye.